Where do you feel like young female creatives should be having more space within the industry?
I think in defining the stories that we want to tell.
It may be sometimes difficult to kind of define what you do as a creative, because being creative means that you can be versatile. Now, you can stay in one lane and make sure you don't go beyond that, or you can decide, you know what, I want to do this too, and try that too, and try this one too. And so I'm happy to be in conversation today with a woman who has tried it all. And I believe probably found her magic in these different things that she has done, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's being on stage, being a programs director, in film. She's done it all. Her name is Abiola Lepe. Welcome to She Creates.
Thank you so much, Buki. What a lovely introduction.
Well, I remember our first conversation, and I mean, we'd never met before. And then we went on to have this almost 1 hour conversation about what we thought about the creative industry, how you fit into it, or perhaps maybe don't fit into it. And I guess maybe that's one thing that may be interesting to women who are listening to us now, ladies in the creative space. Do they have a space? Have they found their place? Is it possible to keep reinventing yourself in the creative industry? And maybe we should start our conversation from there.
Absolutely. I love that you brought us back to our beginning, essentially, because I think that sometimes we forget that one of the boons of Nigeria being this burgeoning economy, this space where so many things are not quite defined yet, means that we have the opportunity to define them ourselves. And as a creative, that's the entire world open to one. You know, you're able to, if you can't find your space, you can create your space. And we have the freedom to do that. And I think that Nigeria is quite unique for a creative person because it allows you to be all of the different pieces of yourself. You don't have to leave anything behind. You don't have to be Valerine in the office, and in the boardroom. You can be Abiola everywhere. You can be who you are in the multitudinousness of yourself and bring that to all spheres. If I'm directing, for me, it's the same skill set as when I'm directing teams. You know, when I'm saying, hey, I want the lights, I would love an orange screen across it. It's the same thing as when I'm saying, did we get the budget forecasted and do we need to reforecast it? And a lot of times we realize that those core skills and those core assets that we have hold us in good stead in every space we move into because they aren't disparate things. They're actually part of that same core of who we are and how we build things and how we relate to people and to the art and to
the
what
art
we produce,
itself.
you know.
Well, of course, we have to start at the beginning. And I like that, like I said, you wear many hats and you've done many things within the creative space. People may be asking, how do I reinvent myself in a way that I don't lose myself? What would you say to that?
Maintaining integrity to the core of who you are in every iteration of yourself. You know, I think that as a young child, I was the weirdo. Like I didn't realize I was doing monologues in the mirror. I was just talking to myself and playing weird characters and I'd be in the bathroom for an hour, but I was always maintaining integrity. If I wanted to be operatic, I would be operatic. If I wanted to be jazzy, I would be jazzy. And in the same way that if I want to do classical theater, my posture, I have
It's
integrity
different.
to that. You know, if I'm doing R&B, the way I form my words is not going to be like opera. And so I think that having that sense of knowing what you're doing, knowing who you are, and bringing that to each endeavor will allow you to also, as you said, find the magic, you know, find what your magic is in each of those things. And what you realize is that it becomes consistent, you know, that me leading a team of 21 for Canon or for any corporation is going to end up being exactly the same me that's directing a company, that is leading a workshop, that is doing a masterclass. And so once you find that kernel of truth, seeking truth. That's most of what we're doing as creatives, is expressing truth in different ways. And once you find that kernel of truth and find the magic that is you, if you carry it into everything, you realize that it's not a reinvention, but it's a pivot. All those facets of yourself, you're just bringing different facets forward each time.
So you're in the background a lot of times, but you're also at the foreground.
Oh, darling, yes. Yes, indeed. Because, hello, do you see this?
I see it. We see it. Do you feel like do you feel under pressure? Do you feel the pressure to be a certain way and to look a certain way, to fit in to this, narrative that women in the creative space are supposed to, look or sound?
Right.
I mean, of course, we're in Nigeria, and I know that, we also go across the world, but there's a perception, that is almost now unspoken. It's almost this, it's almost like an unspoken rule. And you find that people are changing their appearances in a way that continues to portray this narrative that the world now expects.
Right.
Do you feel that pressure? And how can young women creatives also maybe not avoid the pressure, because the pressure is there, but somehow not be affected by it in a way that they lose themselves? Yeah.
I think that, well, one, I lived in Korea for a long time, which we talked about, and there is no unspoken. They will say it out loud. Oh, 통통하다, like you're a big one. And so in that environment, it forces you to confront things that it would be in my slim mode. So I would go somewhere and be doing an appearance in Korea, and they would be talking about how healthy and how delightfully chunky I was. And I'm like, I've been doing Pilates every day for 6 months. What do you mean chunky? And, but every single version of yourself is yourself, and I think that once you realize that, if you don't like yourself when you are a work in progress, before the abs are showing, before the biceps are rocking, you're not going to like yourself when they are. And so I've been every size. I've been skinny mini, I've been super fit, I've been hurdle runner, I've been athletic dancer, and then I've hurt myself, and all of that has changed. And even dancing, trying to find your center of balance when you're spinning, all of those things. But what I had to realize is that I'm myself in all of those instances. Like, if you were fine before, honey, you still fine. If you are a sexy person, it's an innate thing.
It's an innate thing.
It was never external in the first place. And realizing that when I walk into a room, when eyes turn towards you, all of those things are consistent because you are you, not because of anything you put on the outside, not because of any external inputs or any external definitions, you know? And so we have all of those definitions, but most of the times we learn the rules so that we can break them in the most delicious ways, And so I think the same thing applies with our appearance. And I would, I'd be like, oh, I have this to do, and I need to be in this shape, and I need to be this size to do it. But I didn't realize I was inspiring people, that I put on my 4-inch heels and I'm doing spins and all of that. And they're like, at your size, it made me feel like I can do, and you don't realize the impact that you're having, because we are varied, and in myself, I'm varied. My closet is every size. And I was always, because I know it's going to change, and just accepting each different iteration of myself,
of yourself, different expressions of yourself,
and how I show up. It allows me to know that the pressure is there, but know that I've transcended that.
You're beyond the pressure.
That. We're artists also. We create. So if there's a definition there, I can create another one. If there's a picture or an image, I am the picture and the image, So understanding that you can literally transform what people see, because if it's in the eye of the beholder, you're the one that influences the beholder.
In the first place. So you mentioned about working with teens. I'm sure you've worked with younger people. And like I said, you've worn many hats and you're in different pockets of the creative industry. Where do you feel like young female creatives should be having more space within the industry?
I think in defining the stories that we want to tell, and also sitting behind the table. Oftentimes things are the frame or with a picture. So the picture is defined a lot of times by the person who puts up the frame. And so we have to be those who put up the frame as well. We have to define what picture we want to present, which stories we'd like to tell, and tell them, not always following, because I feel like a lot of times there's a tendency to lean into
someone else's vision or someone else's narrative.
Exactly. And it's something that I've had to fight myself also, because we're so conciliatory and nice and helpful, and that's wonderful. But you can do that as well as starting to be the frame and to tell those stories. So that's what we need, our voices. So tell the story, write the vision, make it plain, you know.
So that others that see it may run with it.
Exactly. Come on now.
I know, sis.
Come on now.
Because I relate with that as well. You know, I think that in as much as we are evolving as an industry, whether it be in music or fashion or what, we're evolving as an industry. And I think that the gender gaps are definitely closing. But there's been, for a long time, the disruptors have been men, have been the other gender. And for a long time, we've been in the position where we want to follow someone else's vision or narrative, or it's just easier, you know, to go in that direction as opposed to standing on your own, because it takes a lot to be able to stand on your own, or, you know, be comfortable enough in your own skin and in the things that you believe in, to say, this is where I stand, you know, and I'm ready to take that leadership position. So how for you, with working with younger people, how do you tell them, stand up, get up, take your place?
Get up, stand up.
How many songs are we going to hear by the time we're done with this conversation?
Is someone counting?
But I love it, though. I love it. Yeah.
Excellence, first of all. It's so much easier to have any kind of conversation with people in any sphere or any sphere of expertise when you are excellent at what you do. So be everything that you aspire to be, like seek it and be the top of your game. So when you have a conversation with someone, they know you have the chops. They know that you have the know-how. They know that you have the skills to back up what you're saying. If I'm working with sound engineers, suddenly they relax when I come into the room because I speak their language, because I educated myself. I didn't go to engineering school, but as a singer, I realized I was going into studio sessions or to talk about the sound of a film without, you know, it's like when it moves around. That's nice because I speak creative, you know, and like if you're,
but you got to speak the language.
Speak the language.
Yeah.
I need low air right here. I need you to automate this, you know, like, and I need a vocal writer right here. When you seek excellence and you seek knowledge and learning in every aspect of what you do, people can respect that. And then you're able to have conversations that you may have been limited in before.
Right.
And then people are also more willing to show you. People are also more willing to listen to what you have to say, because they know that you're not speaking out of nowhere. That's not woo woo. They're like, okay.
you do know what you're talking about.
How can I follow you if you're not confident enough to lead? And the thing that makes you confident enough to lead is seeking excellence in yourself. I can't direct people to sing well, to have great posture if they look at me and I'm like, when I'm singing, if I say that you should walk upright into a room and I don't do it myself, if I say that you should be prepared, have your notes, have an agenda for a meeting, and when I show up, I don't, you know. So if you're excellent, it will open doors for you. If you seek knowledge, it will allow you to be invited in, and also for you to lead when it's time for you to lead.
Where would you like to see more women take up space in the industry? If that's something that you've thought about.
In teaching, maybe also, because a lot of our educators, when there are master classes, when there are workshops, a lot of times those people are men. And yes, we do see like big names leading things like directing films or producing. But in those moments where we're going nuts and bolts, most of the times the faces are only men, which is wonderful. And I love that we're seeking more knowledge and professional development. But women, let's get in there too. You know, I'm a great teacher. I love teaching. And I see, you can spot people who you're like, this person will know how to share their skills. And you don't truly know your craft until you can pass it on. When you've had to define things in a way that someone else can understand and not just how it flows around in your mind, that suddenly elevates what you're doing as well. So women, learn how to pass on your knowledge, learn how to be a part of that development and education space.
And knowledge exchange is something that I always talk about. Knowledge exchange, knowledge exchange. I was having a conversation recently with a friend, and she was saying, look, when I'm with my guy friends, 20 minutes doesn't go by before someone starts talking about a business deal, about an opportunity, or being able to say, look, I've got something I want to do and I don't know how to do it. And then they're like, I can connect you with that person. And we don't see that enough amongst the females or the women in the industry. And I think that's something that can be improved for sure. Absolutely. Can be improved for sure.
Like in moments like this.
Or
how we even met.
I love that. If I asked you, why do you create? What would you say?
Because it feels like I'm not breathing when I don't. But to quote one of my own pieces, my music, my words, my movement, simple things, merely the respiratory expulsions of my soul. And I really feel that way. I've had moments where I've leaned to one side or the other. As far as when I finished school, I was full-time arts. I was teaching dance and I was doing this. And then you're like, the economy crashed several times. We're like the lost generation in the States. But so you keep shifting, like, okay, let me do some contract work. Let me do this. I didn't realize I was expanding my skill set, but also it made me realize this is the very essence of my being. And whichever form that creativity takes, I have to do it. It's not really a choice. When I lean in another direction, it's like a slow death. And honey, I'm here to live. Okay. So
perhaps it's the time we do a high five.
Yes!
Yeah. I'm here to live. I love that, because living and expressing yourself is all part of living.
Yes.
Abiola, thank you so much for being such a light and bright voice.
Aww.
And on She Creates. It's been lovely speaking with you.
And you also.
And I hope to have you back another time.
Absolutely. Yay.
Well, again, interesting conversation with a woman who wears many hats in the creative space, Abiola Lepe on She Creates.